Welcome, brothers and sisters, to the Meher Baba program. I'm Fred Stankus, along with my co-host Suhas Ginde. Welcome, Suhas.
Thank you.
We're continuing on our series of Meher Baba calling messages from extracts from discourses by Meher Baba, and we're on our part 16. And this message Baba gives is basically a summation of who he is, the awakener. And Baba says, I have come not to establish anything new. I have come to put life into the old. I have not come to establish retreats or ashrams. I create them for the purpose of my universal work, only to repeatedly dissolve them once the purpose has been served. I intend to bring together all religions and cults like beads on one string, revitalizing them for individual and collective needs. My message always has been and always will be of divine love. Let the world know it. My advent is not to destroy illusion, because illusion is nothing. I come to make you become aware of the nothingness of illusion. Through you I maintain illusion, which is nothing but the shadow of my infinite self, and through me you discard illusion when you experience its falseness. Be brave, be happy. I and you are one. And the infinite that eternally belongs to me will one day belong to every individual. And what a great way to open the program, Suhas.
That's what Baba is in a nutshell.
Yeah, it is. And what's wonderful is this message that through you I maintain illusion, which is nothing but the shadow of my infinite self. And through me you discard illusion when you experience its falseness. I think Baba one time described like God is like the personification of God is a form. His shadow is what is thrown from the form, which is the form is the reality of him, but the shadow is what is the creation. In other words,
reality is behind his form.
Yes, but the shadow is what we see. We think the shadow is the real thing.
The shadow of reality is the creation, which is an illusion. They're both interdependent.
Right.
You need your shadow. It follows you wherever you go.
Right.
But you are not your shadow. When you come to realize that you are not part of this, you're in this world, but you're not of it, as the Sufis say. There you have detachment, as I was saying earlier.
You know, I said, I like what Baba said, I intend to bring together all religions and cults like beads on one string, revitalizing them for the individual and collective needs. Revitalizing them.
He said, I've come to put life into the old.
I mean, that means old traditional religions are going to be revitalized.
They get new energy. It was almost like an example of when someone went to a house as a guest and the person said, well, let me get you some fresh oats for the oatmeal.
Oh, yeah.
And he said, well, there's other oatmeal on the shelves, but that's older. It's a little stale.
Yeah, still.
So religions, as they go from time to time, they get discarded. The essence of religion. I
mean, their essence there in that oatmeal box is still oats, but they're a little stale.
A fresh box, fresh container.
And it's contemporary to the times, too.
Well, the last time we had an avatar in the form of Muhammad, according to Baba, was 1400 years ago.
And before that?
Before that, he said Jesus.
And before that?
Before that, there was Buddha, then
before that,
Krishna, Ram, and Zoroaster. Among what we know of, the named one.
Right.
People who followed their teaching started doing rites, rituals, ceremonies, and dogma. The essence, the essential teachings were forgotten, and they started getting more caught up in the external, like going to temples, churches, mosques, and so on. It became dry. So that's why the ancient one, which is the essence of what Baba is, the reality behind the form, takes on a form. And then it comes to awaken us and also direct us back to God, to what Baba represents in his form. We are also part of that, but our direction is focused on too many other things. Our desires, our wants, our needs.
So if a person develops a good heart, it's probably much more attaining than one developing his intellectual self. Like an atheist with a heart can be actually further along on the spiritual path than one who is a religious minister who is so stuck in his egoistic teachings and ways, and basically,
he's caught up in his ego mind.
Yeah.
But Baba himself said, it's better if everyone is an atheist till he finds God by actual experience.
So everybody who does this parroting all this information is just speaking like a bird chirping.
We're grasping at straws in the wind. People don't know, but you have to have some kind of experience that connects you with Baba. There's a link with Baba. The people who have links with masters and so on, they don't happen overnight. They may have taken lifetimes getting close to that person or that environment.
Well, and Baba also said, my advent is not to destroy illusion, because illusion is nothing. I come to make you become aware of the nothingness of illusion.
Which means creation
so
is
what
not
is
destroyed.
illusion? What is illusion? Is that creation?
Illusion is like a dream.
So you mean to tell
drama?
me? You to tell me a person lives a righteous life, works hard, and he doesn't know any better. He just thinks that by being a good human being, is he somehow mistaken? I mean,
No,
because he likes to earn money, he likes to have pleasure, he likes to take his vacations, he likes to travel,
He's living a worldly life,
yes,
which he's caught up.
But he enjoys it. He thinks this is his dream. His family bought a new home, he built it, he has children, and he sends them to...
So he's experiencing the consciousness that he's given and that he's created. So he's enjoying that. But that's not the end all.
That's just one lifetime.
That's his purpose in this lifetime that he's attached to. But Baba said, if you cannot get close to a master and follow the teachings, he said the next best thing is to purify your heart.
Oh, he did say that.
He did say that in this Listen Humanity.
So in other words, that's the situation for most of us. We don't have a master, a living master.
And that's why people who are close to a master have had links with him in previous lifetimes. They didn't know it then. They are links.
So Baba again, say that again. He said, if you don't have links with a living master, the best thing to do is to
not links. If you don't have the good fortune of coming in contact with such a master,
the best thing
or following the teaching, the next best thing, he says, is to purify your heart.
Purify your heart. How can you purify your heart?
Well, he's given various things by focusing on God, by keeping the company of people who are interested in that type of environment, by doing selfless service. That's called karma yoga, by the way, where your ego's not involved. It's not gimme, 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 and what's in it for me. That kind of business doesn't go too far in the spiritual path. It's giving up. That's called renunciation, surrendering your ego mind. And then you get on the path, so that the external is...
Is this an individual thing? Because
it is an individual thing. It's not a collective thing.
There's a big Christian movement called, what's that bestseller, A Purposeful Life?
Purpose-driven.
A purpose-driven life that is drawing millions of people towards it, because it's a great teaching, and for somebody to get attached to a group and focus. So you're speaking that what you're saying is an individual type of a thing.
Yes, and the people who read that book may also try to improve their life and purify. There's nothing wrong with the book or the way it's written if it's a true message of loving God in the right way. They're the same as what I'm reading. But most people do not apply what they read. It's not like reading a newspaper or putting it back on the shelf. What we are reading, these messages have to be applied in life, in our lives. We're not all perfect. I'm not all perfect, neither are we all. That's why we need someone like Baba to show us the way. We need Jesus.
So this next message really is a good transition. Baba speaks about the soul, and you're saying you're not perfect, but yet read this.
Follows a little bit of what I said. The soul. At present, you as soul are unconscious of God and God's bliss. Your mind now suffers or is happy according to your impressions. Let go the mind and you are your real self. Above incarnate life in birth and beyond discarnate life, after that the soul is one indivisible eternal existence. If death has any value, it is to teach the individual the true art of life. Neither seek death nor fear it, and when death comes to you, it is converted into a stepping stone to the higher life. You are infinite. You are really everywhere. But you think you are the body, and therefore consider yourself limited. If you look within and experience your own soul in its true nature, you will realize that you are infinite and beyond all creation. You will become one with God. That's God realization.
How does one look within? How can one look within?
Focusing. It comes sometimes through meditation.
No, but still, your mind is distracted. You have the doorbell rings, the phone rings, the cell phone rings.
You cannot meditate when you do that kind of thing. You have to take time.
I'm just saying that some people lately are labeling that saying, look within, as being impossible. They're saying that looking within is impossible. It's better to do acts instead of look within.
You need a mirror. You need a master to focus on. He represents perfection, the perfection of the soul. Baba is a realized being. He has realized his oneness with his soul. The same state of consciousness when Jesus said, I and my Father are one. It's the same thing when Baba says, I am God in human form. He says, my Father and I are one. He is one with us. We are not one with our soul. So we need to focus on an image of the Master when we are meditating. It's not just meditating, just breathing in and out. You have to have a focus.
You know what's amazing here? He says, you are infinite. You are really everywhere.
He's talking about your soul is infinite.
But he says, but you think you are the body, and therefore you consider yourself limited.
You limit yourself.
So as you've heard that saying, I'm only human.
Yes, but that's because that person is identifying with the physical, gross, conscious world.
Well, I'm just saying that this is a very key point here now. People say, I'm only human, so when I make a mistake or sin, as it's called, I'm only human and the flesh is weaker than the spirit. People use that sometimes as
an excuse.
It's an excuse.
Their behavior.
It's an excuse, but also it's a chance for them to rebound from, possible, abyss to where they feel that they're worthless and so forth. But Baba, if you incorporate this, you are infinite, you are really everywhere, but you consider yourself limited because you're attached to your, the human frailty as it is. So what you're saying is what Baba's saying is one should start really looking at themselves as infinite and start thinking that thought every day. I am an infinite being. I'm only limited because I think I'm in this human form. You follow me? And maybe somebody could actually derive a benefit from that.
Like I heard someone say, we are spiritual beings living a human existence, a human life. And we're not aware of the fact that we are spiritual beings. So some of the things that I hear are really transcendental messages. They go into a mystical level in the realm of poetry and so on, and not so much as prose and dogma. So this is why it's difficult for people to understand that there's something, you must want something more than what you have. And that's when the desire comes to find out who you really are. If you're only caught up in what you get from morning, noon, and night, you're not going to be. That's why you have to first become a seeker. You have to search for this.
And this is another part of this message. Above incarnate life is birth, and beyond discarnate life after death, the soul is one indivisible, eternal existence.
Yes.
If death has any value, it is to teach the individual a true art of life. So,
That's what.
But the point of it is, it's amazing. It says, do not fear death. Death is like a stepping stone to a higher life.
It's a transition to another lifetime.
But doesn't it give you a feeling of total wholeness and oneness? Because sometimes people think, oh, woe is me, my life is limited 0, 60, 70, 80 years. They don't realize that it's all a continuous growth going in between the physical, the incarnate life and then the discarnate life.
This message we just read, that you just read, will not resonate with those people you just mentioned. They're caught up in the external life. They're not interested in the fact that they will die and move on to a higher life. They want this life with all their wealth and their possessions and all the many things, their activities, whatever they do. They're happy with what they have. It's only when they get disillusioned, disappointed, that they turn to God.
Yes, that's true. That's why sometimes calamities or sufferings make people fall to their knees and call out.
Exactly. When they're in the hospital dying or sick, or they're going to have a major operation, they call out to God.
When you're happy and things are going your way.
Only when misery comes in that they think about God. But happiness and misery are two sides of the same coin. They're not going to bring you the awakening. They have to be balanced out through lifetime after lifetime, and also through the after-death state. So Erich said once, and I read this in God Speaks, death is merely a shaking of the sanskaras. So like how a dog shakes after getting a shower or a bath.
Shakes off.
Yeah. Your impressions get shaken off. So again, you take on new impressions in your next life. You're born with a little cleaner slate than when you left this life. But all of these lifetimes, just one continuous lifetime, were just taking on new habits, new costumes, new bodies.
Well, let me read this next one. This is what we're going on to. It's called The Purpose of Life. Baba says, not by seeking individual happiness or safety, but by again and again offering one's life in the service of others, is it possible to rise to the unsurpassed completeness of realized truth. God is not to be sought by running away from life, but by establishing unity with the one and the many. And what you said earlier, purity, love, and service are the elements of the spiritual life. Those who cleanse their hearts of the embittering poison of selfishness, hate, and greed find God as their own true self. The truth of divine life is not a hope, but a reality. All else is illusion. Have faith, and you will be redeemed. Have love, and you will conquer the limited self of cravings that veil your own true being as God. There's so many deaths during the one whole life, from the beginning of evolution of consciousness to the end of involution of consciousness, are like so many sleeps during one lifetime. Wow.
One continuous lifetime.
You know something, when you think back, I think back 10 years, it seems like another lifetime. It seems so far. I think back 40 years. It seems like, was that me? But you see what I'm saying? How it all fades away?
Lifetimes, birth and death, they are with beginning and end. They have a time cycle. The time measured by our time.
I'm sure each one of our lives fades away too.
Yes.
The life we're experiencing now, and then we die and we're transitioning over to a new birth.
But now,
this whole life will just fade away.
We're talking about dying in this lifetime, being born in another lifetime. How about all the other lifetimes that you and I have lived, and all of us, that we don't even know about?
Of course not.
We were also in those days of Muhammad. We were also in the days of Jesus. We were also in the days of Krishna and Ram. How many years? They've taken, 10,000 years or so?
But it's almost like there's a certain device or a safeguard to keep you from remembering those past lives.
You develop a new brain.
Well, can you imagine how confused you would be? Well, remember what I said. In some traditions, they pray for the burning of the garbage of the experiences. They call it garbage of your lifetime.
Yeah, the waste.
The waste, all the things you've done. You've got to get rid of that before you want to come back. Because how can you bring all those experiences from one life back to the other one?
You're born as a baby with a clean slate.
Exactly. Well,
and you're programmed.
Well, don't they say the first 7 years of a child's life, they're totally innocent.
Yeah, like
they're free because they haven't been impressed. But once the age of reasoning sets in,
impressions.
yeah, then they're responsible. At age 7, you're now responsible.
And some of these impressions are also subtle. They could be like what you absorb by sight, by sound. You don't necessarily have to be taught something. You may be driving down the street, and you may see things that might make an impression through your eyes on your mind. And you may not know what it's all about, but it registers something there, and you get a reaction to that internally.
The next message is this was for Meher Baba's own intimate and close spiritual disciples, and it's a message to his spiritual workers, which is, I think, a very strong message. This could apply to most people, but you have to remember this was given to his intimate, close disciples.
He says, the only reason why I call upon every individual to work for me is to make each one share the divine cause. So if you are prepared to share my universal work, the work must be done 100% honestly, and that work is to spread my message of love. Bear in mind that you should not at all seek appreciation from me or from others. Selfless service again. Remember this much. The work in itself is its own appreciation. It has its own reason. The moment you seek appreciation, the work is undone. The task for spiritual workers to help me in this dispensation of the truth to suffering humanity means that you have not only to prepare others to receive this truth, but to get established in it yourselves. To the spiritual workers. The spiritual workers are necessarily confronted with many obstacles, but obstacles are meant to be overcome. Even if insuperable, do your best, irrespective of results and consequences. This one thing here where it says, you should not at all seek, bear in mind, you should not at all seek appreciation from me from others. It's not like a pat on your back for doing his work. You do it for the sake of doing it, because you want to do it. It's called selfless service, where you don't get praise.
Well, and that comes when you have love in your heart. When you have love in your heart, when you do service,
everything else doesn't matter.
When you do service, it's a joy. You do it because you want to do it. You don't want to just say like, oh, somebody's ordering me to do it, and so forth.
Like we say, like a Mother Teresa.
Right, exactly. She loved to serve. She felt she couldn't wait to serve. It was, oh, I'll find somebody laying in the streets of Calcutta.
It was her duty.
Dying, and I want them to die in dignity, she says. I want to treat them as though they were Jesus himself, and let them maybe die in a hospice or in a nice, clean bed, instead of dying in the gutters of Calcutta. And she loved what she was doing. I mean, that's the kind of love, and that's the kind of feeling one should do for service, because, otherwise...
She said, I see Jesus in all his distressing disguises.
Wow.
I saw that on a Wayne Dyer show.
That's a beautiful thing.
Distressing disguises. That means God taking on all these forms. But some of them are poor, some of them are ill, some of them are unhappy. And she says, they need my love. They need my...
Yeah,
that's divine love. And that only a saint at that level of consciousness can do that.
I mean, you got to be there. You can't just say that, oh, I will.
Everyone is not a Mother Teresa. Everyone doesn't have that need or desire to do that type of service.
Well, what happens is when your heart is on fire with love, you automatically do those things. You don't even think twice about doing it.
Mm-hmm. And Baba did all those things automatically.
Yeah,
Baba served the poor.
Because he had divine love.
And he didn't say, well, no, this leper, I don't want to come near him.
He didn't see the...
He didn't. He said, they're like... What did he say? They're
beautiful
like
birds.
Beautiful birds caught up in ugly cages. So that's what the body is. It's just a cage. The ego mind is just a cage that limits you. That limits... It's like if you had a bird that knew freedom, and you put it in a cage, now it's bound.
That's right.
It longs to be free. So when you open the door of the cage, the bird goes out and flies
away.
And that's what Baba says, I've come to awaken you from the bondage of your soul. Soul is bound by its desires, by its sanskaras. And Baba says, I come to awaken you from this dream of existence.
Why don't you read 76 and we'll conclude the show. We have 3 minutes left.
Divine love.
Yeah, I think you'd like reading that.
God and love are identical, and one who has divine love has received God. Divine love makes us true to ourselves and to others. Divine love is the solution to our difficulties and problems. It frees us from every kind of binding. It makes us speak truly, think truly, and act truly. It makes us feel one with the whole universe. Divine love purifies our hearts and glorifies our being. Start learning to love God by loving those whom you cannot love. The more you remember others with kindness and generosity, the more you forget yourself. And when you completely forget yourself, you find God. My message always has been and always will be of divine love. Let the world know of it.
Tell you, that's Baba's message, and I mean, we sometimes speak in very mystical or these deeper,
simplicity,
occult type of stories Baba also gave, but this is his true message, and the one that really should be told about Baba, and that is, my message always has been and always will be of divine love. Let the world know it. I mean, he loved everyone. He had people from all faiths, all walks of life. He had atheists.
They saw something in him that they don't see anywhere.
Exactly. And he never judged them. He took care of them.
Never took sides.
No.
Don't take sides, because God is for all. God is love. Even Jesus said that. God is love, love is God. So what else is there to do? Love must love. Love God. And God loves you anyway. He's closer to you than your own brother.
And like it said here, it says, start learning to love God by loving those whom you cannot love. What a message for today.
So love your enemies.
For our society.
Yes, and today's Good Friday.
Yeah, it's a wonderful thing to remember.
Yes.
The day that Jesus died on the cross. So, thank you, Suhas, for giving us the rap signs. As Meher Baba says,
don't worry, be happy in my divine love.
Thank you.
Jai Baba.
Jai Baba.
Thank you.